the elections in Maharashtra and Jharkhand have concluded. Let's have a look at what all the numbers from the exit polls are telling us from first Maharashtra. Here we have it. P-Mark, Maitris and People's Pulse. P-Mark is giving a very confused mandate, 137 to 157. Remember, the halfway mark is at 145, which means P-Mark says Maha Yuti, the incumbent BJP-led, has the advantage of forming the government, but at the top end, the MVA at 146 could also form the government. Very large range has been given of 20 seats, but they are discounting the others at only 2 to 8 seats. So, not a factor of the rebels over here, not the factor of the others. It's going to go to one alliance or the other, large range, and 145 lies within the range of both. So, they've hedged their bets, but the advantage is to Maha Yuti. Now, this completely changes when we go to Maitris. Maitris is predicting a clear victory at 150 to 170 for the Maha Yuti. 145 being the halfway mark, with the MVA only coming up with 110 to 130 and 8 or 10 seats going to the others. So, Maitri says Maha Yuti wins it outright, forms the government as a pre-poll alliance. By the time we get to People's Pulse, this goes in an extreme advantage of Maha Yuti. This in fact is predicting a thumping win, a wave election in favor of the BJP-led incumbent alliance at between 175 to 195 seats, with the MVA getting only 85 to 112 and the others getting between 7 and 12. So, what is the median average? If you take the median average of all of these, this is where you end up in the poll of polls. 164 for the BJP-led incumbent Maha Yuti, 118 for the MVA and about 6 seats for the others. So, the exit poll of polls, believe in their accuracy or not, are suggesting 164 with 145 being the requirement to form a government. So, the poll of polls is predicting a Maha Yuti win and the return of the BJP-led alliance in government in Maharashtra. Now, let's have an examination of the poll of polls that have come out from the state of Jharkhand. Remember, the halfway mark is just past the 41-45 situation. Look at what the situation of the three polls is. Once again, we have People's Pulse, JVC and Maitris who have done the exit polls from Jharkhand. People's Pulse is telling you that the BJP is between 44 and 53, so comfortably past the halfway mark of 41. The NDA alliance, this is both the JMM and the Congress between 25 and 37 and the others knocking off between 5 and 9. JVC says 40 to 44, so close, could be too close, but most likely BJP alliance wins. The NDA bloc performs slightly better. I'm assuming the vast majority of the seats probably for the JMM between 30 and 40 and only one other contestant likely to win. Maitri says no, it's still a government for the BJP, 42 to 47 for the BJP, 25 to 30 for JMM-Congress alliance and the others between 1 and 4. Now, the median of these three polls is telling us with the halfway mark at 41 that the BJP alliance is going to get government formation in Jharkhand with 45 seats, well ahead of what they require to form a government. That the NDA bloc is going to fall short by 10 seats with only 31 and there will be 5 others who by this median poll of polls will not be in any kingmaker position whether they join one side or the other. That's the poll of polls, all the numbers out from Jharkhand so far. Alright, let's open up this conversation to our guests joining us to analyze this. Yes, take all the exit polls with a pinch of salt. Yes, by all means, be aware that heck, the American pollsters keep predicting Donald Trump is going to lose and he keeps winning. But Himanshu Bhatt joining us on the broadcast. Priya Sehgal, our editorial director, is with us on the broadcast as well. I'm expecting Rishi Bagri, Mukesh Tyagi of the BJP, Piyush Joshi to be with us also. Let me start with Priya. Priya, here we are. Now the elections are over. It's been a confusing election. I think Maharashtra has been really confusing. Jharkhand perhaps slightly more predictable. We don't know who's where, who's been fighting from whom. We don't even know if the pre-poll alliances will remain what they were come on 23rd November. But now you've seen the exit polls. What's your first reaction?
Rishabh, I think the exit polls also, as you said, take them with a pinch of salt, but they do give an edge to the NDA-led combinations where the BJP is, and that does seem to be the trend, starting from, I think, Haryana post Lok Sabha, they seem to have got their mojo back. So let's, take them exit polls on face value and, looking at the trend on the ground. Also, I think that Lok Sabha high of the opposition has come down a bit, even in terms of the campaign grounds. I was there in Maharashtra and Mumbai, and even there I saw, people who had earlier on given the election to the Maha Vikas Aghadi were now, looking back and saying that, these guys have a chance of winning on campaign ground. They were talking about the state leadership. They were talking about the BJP-backed governance model. So in that sense, I think the narrative, all these things do affect, even though the Maharashtra election was a silo, Jharkhand was a separate silo, but there is a dominant narrative that does tend to influence. So given that, I can see the narrative keeping up in our exit polls also, the ones that we have just read out and talked about.
But Priya, it felt like, I'm sorry to ask you this question, I don't know if it felt like the same to you. It felt like a much more quieter, localized election than we've seen the past 11 years. Did you feel the same?
It felt like it, or even it was not so much on the headlines, because also the national campaigners kept away. We only had Prime Minister Modi, not even in the end, because he went off on that trip, international trip. So he was
Brazil,
just there
Guyana,
towards
yes.
the end. He did set a narrative in Maharashtra, 9 rallies. He talked about ek hai to safe hai. But it wasn't, centered around Modi. It wasn't, even Haryana was not really centered around him, I must say. So in that sense, I think local polls are coming into their own, local issues, local leaders. It was more about Eknath Shinde's governance versus Uddhav Thacker's, even though no side had actually put up a CM face. But it was given that, they were talking about local candidates rather than even Rahul Gandhi state, I think he learned a lesson from Haryana. He was not campaigning so much. In fact, if anybody from the Congress, it was Mallikarjun Kharge who was leading the narrative, taking on Yogi Adityanath, taking on the Prime Minister. Issues were local. It was all about the Mumbai Metro, the Dharavi slums, the projects going to Gujarat. So in that sense, I think it is a very, very local election that happened. And at the end of the day, we see the polls results coming out. I think, and I have to say also that Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra did do a pitch in terms of delivery. There was a lot of talk of him as someone who delivers. I think he has managed to recover some ground and come into his own.
Okay, interesting thoughts. Chanakya also reporting its figures now. They're also giving a pretty convincing victory to the Mahayuti at between 152 and 160 seats, with the MVA coming at 130 to 138. That now revises the poll of polls to 162 for the Mahayuti, comfortable government by a margin of 17 seats. The MVA at 122, short of 23, and 4 others, with the halfway mark being at 145 in Maharashtra. Himanshu Bhatt, your first thoughts?
No, sir, I do not believe in this exit polls. From last few years, they have been proven wrong. And that's a fact of life. So as you said, take it with a pinch of salt, all right. But what I am more interested in seeing is the total amount, the total percentage of voting in Maharashtra. If it's going to be something like 2019, which is 61 point something, if it touches that, then I don't foresee Mahayuti, that is BJP-led alliance, along with Shinde, minus Pawar. Let's put it, I'm putting it very, very clearly here. We are talking in terms of BJP, Eknath Shinde, Seva Sena, 2 getting about 145 seats. So what happens is, Ajit Pawar, whether he wins 15, whether he wins 20 out of 46, he becomes inconsequential in forming the government. And that is what the mandate is going to be. And that is where what will happen is, on one side, one NCP will be decimated, one Sena will be decimated.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take a reaction from everyone, because yes, it should be taken with a pinch of salt, but nobody should be predict anything, but we love to predict everything. Okay. This country has a large belief in astrology, so we do feel we can predict things. Maybe the pollsters are relying a bit too much on astrology than science, because polling is probably a bit of an art along with a bit of science. But let me take thoughts from across the board before I come back. Piyush Joshi, your thoughts?
My thoughts are pretty simple. Both the elections are too close to call, irrespective of the numbers that the exit polls are predicting. I have my reasons to believe so because the voter of Maharashtra still stands confused. He was very unhappy when the Lok Sabha elections took place, and the voter did express his anger in the results of the Lok Sabha elections against the incumbent government. However, I think that the Mahayuti has recovered a little bit of ground, but has it recovered enough to form a government? Interesting times ahead. Because which Sena to vote for. I'm a Sena voter, but which Sena to vote for right now? Whether to vote for Shinde Sena or Uddhav Sena. Now, same is the case with which NCP to vote for, this power or that power. So ultimately it boils down to the local candidates, and exit polls, if they are proven right in this particular case, I think they will regain some credibility, because Haryana, they were clearly predicting the win for Congress, and these are the states, both Jharkhand as well as Maharashtra, too close to call. The voters are still confused, which is my party, and which is my candidate. So interesting times ahead. I
Okay.
personally believe that we should not be surprised come what may the results are. Jharkhand, I still give a little bit of edge to the India Alliance. And I see that the India Alliance is going to pull through. But again, both these
Okay.
states too close to
Okay.
call.
You're
I'm not a
hopeful
pundit.
that the Congress performance will be slightly better. Maybe Hemant Soren is hanging in, and his time in jail is actually turned into time with sympathy. Let me take quick reactions. Rishi Bagri with us. Rishi ji, what are your thoughts on the exit polls as we have them? We've got 5 agencies out there now.
So, Rishabh, my thought is very similar to the lot of the all the polls, all the panelists, that I don't believe in the exit poll nowadays. After what happened in Haryana, all the 7 exit poll got wrong badly. So one thing is very clear, that the exit poll, let's wait for the actual result. But then, if the thing, what I can foresee is that the polls are very close, and BJP has recovered a lot of lost ground vis-a-vis the 2024 Lok Sabha election. I mean, the MBA got 31 seats, and BJP Alliance got 17 seats. So they have recovered, and they are doing better than the what this MBA is going to do. So that's for sure, because all this thing, freebies and everything, has actually working wonders for them. Secondly, what I think is that the voting percentage, which is very important, because that used to be 60-61%. Now, till 5 p.m., it was around 58-59%. So around about 6% may go up. Then there's a small adjustment, 1 or 2% happens. So if it goes to 65%, it's a historical, turnout, which is going to happen in Maharashtra. If that happens, then anything can happen. We may see some sort of sweeping of the election.
Okay,
I
so
don't know
I
which
was going to ask you this
direction.
question. Is it going to be a sort of a hodgepodge, pretty hung, very close election, or do you expect maybe this time it will be a sweep one way or the other? It might be a wave election.
No, no, it will be a wave election if 65%, if we are looking the voting turnout to be around about 64, 65%. You need to understand 4% is a very big difference is going to make. And then there are a lot of, there's issues with the Congress, because Congress had the best strike rate in the Lok Sabha, and it was forced to, it actually got the least numbers of seats. It used, if you just superimpose the Lok Sabha election to the Vidhan Sabha, it's supposed to get 140 seats, but the main batsman in the MBA is fighting with the only 100 seats. So you can imagine what they have done. They have done a hit wicket by not giving Congress more seats. I think that's
Yeah, but
a
then,
very big
but maybe
thing which
Uddhav
has
Thackeray
happened.
thinks he's the main batsman because he's in to return as chief minister. I'm sure that's the assurance that's been made to him. I don't think a Prithviraj Chavan or somebody else has been running to become chief minister again. Let me get Mr. Tyagi of the BJP in before I come back to all of you. Or have we just lost him at that point? So Priya, let me come back to you on the issue of Jharkhand. Okay, we've discussed Maharashtra. We'll come back to Maharashtra. On the issue of Jharkhand, is that slightly more predictable because all the polls again are one-sided?
Okay, Rishabh, though Mr. Tyagi is there.
Yeah, I'll come back
on
to him in just a
screen.
minute. Take that thought, Priya.
Okay. Regarding Jharkhand, yes, I think the fight is close, and someone talked about a sympathy wave also for the current chief minister. I think that would have played a role also. But BJP has really been putting all in it. You know, we have Hemanta Biswa Sarma sitting there. We had Amit Shah making a lot of trips over there. So knowing how good they are at management, they also announce a lot of stops for the tribals. All this how it plays out on the ground. I didn't go to Jharkhand, but they have a way of managing narratives. So it will be very interesting to see whether it's the emotional support for a chief minister who, we also going to be seeing the ED policy, which is going to be coming into play. Has the opposition managed to make a stand clear how they are misusing the ED and the CBI for their political gains? So I would actually be very interested to see the to the Jharkhand result, given that prism in mind, as to whether the BJP manages to, come just by the sheer force of narrative. They don't have a very a high profile face, or they've got their party is made for turncoats mostly. So will they be able to actually turn the narrative around, or will the state go in for an emotional vote and stay loyal to this chief minister, and the current vote will still hold?
Okay.
So Jharkhand will be very interesting.
Okay, I won't get into the numbers with you, Mr. Tyagi, because you are of course hoping that you are forming the government in both the states with a comfortable majority. So I'm going to ask you a practical question. This time around, starting with Maharashtra, have you been more successful in coordinating with the RSS, perhaps better so than in Lok Sabha elections?
No, it's evident, Rishabh, that RSS has been very, very proactive in comparison to the previous elections. RSS had put its full might, and there was a perfect coordination between Eknath Shinde and BJP in terms of sheet sharing, in terms of this joint strategy. If you have seen, there was not even a single joint rally by Maha Vikas Aghadi. None of these people came together. So the fractured Maha Vikas Aghadi is visible to the people, and people of Maharashtra are sick and tired and fatigued by this unstable government. Since 2019, there has been 3-time chief ministers and 4-time deputy chief minister and 3 elections. So people are absolutely fatigued. Now I remember that the theory of relativity, that where does the future of the Maharashtrians lie? Now it's a very clear equation that Bharatiya Janata Party with its ally offer the stable government and politics of development. So that is where people have now started making it very clear that they need to make a clear choice, and then they resorted to this. 1 second, let me just complete. This Sajan Nomani's statement, then gas cylinders to the infiltrators. So, this kind of diabolic statement made by and endorsing, they did not even denounce them. So, the people have understood that this is a divisive party, and I'm sure jalebi manufacturer will be very disappointed with the outcome of this election on 23rd.
Okay, all right. On that slightly satirical note, hang a second, because I want to update our viewers watching this telecast with more of the data that is coming from the exit polls. We're just putting all of them out there so you can make your own best guess, rather than just saying one is right and the others are wrong. That's just foolish. So this is Jharkhand. Let's go back to Jharkhand for a second. Okay. So now there are 5 agencies whose data is out. One is People's Pulse, JVC, Matrix, PMark and Access by India. Now when I read out the polls, we were at People's Pulse giving 44 to 53, so majority BJP. JVC giving 40 to 44, so majority pretty much BJP. Matrix giving 42 to 47, majority BJP in Jharkhand. But now PMark and Access by India have come out with the opposite story. Look at what PMark says. PMark says 31 to 40 for the BJP and 37 to 47 for the India Alliance, which is Congress and Soren basically, which would mean a pretty significant advantage for the India Alliance to form a government and Hemant Soren returning as chief minister. This is what PMark says. Access My India is calling it a wave election. Access My India says this is going to be a thumping return for Hemant Soren with 53 seats and the BJP and its allies only getting 25. So now what has happened is, if you just do mathematics, the median average of all the polls has come to a hung parliament. The poll of polls now says 39 BJP alliance, 38 Soren and Congress, and 4 others now become kingmakers. Okay. So you are seeing one agency go to a complete extreme of predicting a wave in favor of Hemant Soren and the return of Hemant Soren. Let me get our guests back into this conversation as we are educated by more numbers. Priya, as always, exit polls all over the place. I don't see any consistency. The last time we saw consistency was probably in Haryana, and nothing of what was consistent actually ended up happening. So, are these exit polls, sort of just going with the wind? What do you think is happening here?
I think exit polls are also being a little cautious. Only one sticking its neck out is again Axis, and he's got it wrong twice. So anyway, you don't want to go on the exit polls. I think they are being cautious, but Hemant, let's just look at what it means if Hemant Soren comes back. That's going to be a huge, shot in the arm, not just for the India Alliance and the opposition, but also the kind of politics that he played versus the kind of politics the BJP has played. Because there, the politics, as I was saying, of misusing ED, etc., was very much an election issue on the ground over there. Also, if he wins, and again, are we going to be talking about the role Congress plays? Because it's again an alliance regional party that has taken on the BJP-led alliance and come out winning, as opposed to when there is a direct fight between the BJP and the Congress, which is in Haryana. Both in Maharashtra and in Jharkhand, there are regional parties that are going to be taking on either the BJP or a group of allies of the BJP. So, if for Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, also Maha Vikas wins in Maharashtra, again we can say that, which is also one reason why Rahul Gandhi stayed away from the campaign. He was not, in the Maharashtra, he was not an avid campaigner. He didn't make himself the face of the campaign. It was mostly Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar, and the tacit understanding which was told to the voters is, should it come back, then Uddhav will be probably the CM face. So the veracity of the Congress, the credibility of the Congress is something we can discuss if the opposition manages to win.
Okay, let's take it for a second, Himanshu, but at face value. Let's take it for a second that one polling agency says, no, this is a wave. Hemant Soren has got the sympathy wave, okay, and the people are now coming out for Hemant Soren. Primarily, maybe the Congress does a little bit better, but primarily Hemant Soren. If we take it at face value, could that be a scenario that actually is worked in his favor, going to jail?
It could be, if that is the right thing. If the results come out that way, the way they are predicting. But that's why Ravi said, we take it with a pinch of salt. And I don't expect that, I don't expect that, because the narrative on the other side, which nobody seems to be discussing, and which was the narrative which they played from the day one. BJP played that narrative of infiltrators, immigrants, illegal immigrants, and Adivasis. When you talk of Vanvasis, when you talk of Adivasis, you talk of Jar, Jameen and Joro. Now that has played a very, very big role. Hemanta Biswa Sharma, right from the day one, was clearly saying we are going to throw all these Bangladeshis out, who have taken over, who have changed the demography of so many seats. And they even counted about 20.
Okay, can we go back to Jharkhand for a second? Because I promised you that we are not going to, sort of pick one and hope our guy gets it right. Okay, we're going to put all the numbers out there, all right? Because it's foolish to say that, we've got it right and 7-8 others have got it wrong when the polls are all over the place. So, I'm going to add another figure. This is Chanakya now for Jharkhand. Can we put this figure out, please? Chanakya for Jharkhand. I'll read it out while my producers are putting it on your screens. So, Chanakya also picks BJP for a win, and a clear win between 45 to 50 seats. So, now you have 6 poll agencies reporting their numbers. 4 of them are reporting advantage or clear win for the BJP alliance. 1 is reporting a near hung with advantage to the India alliance of Soren and Congress. And 1 is reporting a thumping win, that is Axis, a thumping win for Soren and the Congress, and a wave election completely destroying what the BJP hopes would have been happening. Okay, so that's Jharkhand. I'm just coming back to the guests. Several people want to make a comment. I want to educate our viewers who are watching this live coverage with Maharashtra once again. Can we? So we've added 2 more of the exit polls to the Maharashtra figures. So now we have 6 here again. PMark, Matrix, People's Pulse, Chanakya, Lokshahi, and the Dainik Bhaskar exit poll. Now have a look at it. The polls that have gotten added, Chanakya is giving 152 to 160. So majority for Mahayuti, an incumbent led by BJP. Lokshahi says no, it is a hung parliament with the others, which means the rebels, getting more than 20 seats who are going to become kingmakers. So Lok Shahi says 128 to 142 for the Mahayuti, not enough to form a government. 125 to 140 for the MVA, not enough to form a government, which means even on the basis of pre-poll alliances, that's a hung house with the others playing a factor. The Dainik Bhaskar poll is the only poll here which is giving a clear advantage to the MVA. Dainik Bhaskar says 135 to 150 for now what is the Congress-led MVA and 125 to 140 for the Mahayuti, which would mean that even though there is a range of 15 seats, the range favors the MVA with again 20 seats for the others. That's a chunky sum. Now, how does this impact the median poll of polls? It impacts the median poll of polls slightly because the median average for the Mahayuti has now come down to 153 with the addition of these three sets of figures. The MV at 127 and others have increased to about 8 or 10 seats. Now, what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that 6 polls are now out. The median figure says Mahayuti advantage, forming government, getting past 145 mark with 153 as a median average. The MV at 127. Before I get in both Mr. Bagri and Mr. Joshi, let me get a quick word back in from Priya. Priya, now we've educated with more numbers. I know all of them to be taken with a pinch of salt, which is why we're putting all of them out there. So nobody can say, hey, you guys got it right or wrong. We just got all of them out and maybe all of them were right or wrong. Priya, your quick thoughts on what the updated figures tell us.
I think the updated figures reflect the confusion on the ground. Really, I don't think anybody, is really sticking their neck out. Especially if you take out the mean, the average. It is. It looks like an advantage, especially in Maharashtra, since I know a bit more about that than Jharkhand. Advantage to the Mahayuti. I would agree with that in that sense because there was more of a definite plan. There was the BJP has been working full time. Ever since Haryana. I think before Haryana also they had already got the egos in check. They had got this ticket distribution also pretty sorted. It was more coherent campaign from the BJP side, from the Mahayuti side, while Maha Vikas Aghadi was more in reaction to the welfare schemes were announced. It was very interesting. The welfare schemes were announced soon after the Lok Sabha election. Shinde could have done it for Lok Sabha also, but no, he wanted to keep the impact for the assembly elections. He announced it in August in time for Rakhi, the first installment, and he started building up the narrative from August onwards. If you see the way they were working, the BJP and Eknath Shinde at least, Ajit Pawar is actually going to be the difficult person to predict in the alliance. He was the outcast. He's been fielding his candidates of his choice. He was not getting support from a lot of them. He tried to get into a turf war with Eknath Shinde over the Ladki Ladli Behna scheme also. So there was Ajit Pawar's role, I would say, as we were discussing earlier, it can be filled in by another Pawar because everything is so fluid. We still don't know the combination that went in for the polls. Will that same combination be there when the poll results come out?
Okay.
Will there be another midnight swearing in? Maharashtra is going to be very interesting.
Okay, let's take some thoughts in before I get the politicians. And Sakshana Salgar of the NCP faction of Sharad Pawar joins us on the broadcast as well. Before I come to you, man, Piyush Joshi, your thoughts now.
Well, my thoughts are still the same. However, there are two interesting factors that I would like to comment upon and I would like to be observing very closely. One is the number of EVMs which are charged above 90% in these elections, at the time of counting. And another is the voting percentage. How much fraction does the voting percentage increases by in the days to come? So these are the two things that I will be observing very, very closely. I am, totally in for as much transparency as possible when the elections are concerned. So these two factors I have to be observing very closely because, the EVMs cannot be charged above 90%. So if there are no EVMs charged above 90%, we should rest that controversy once and for all. And if the voting percentage again goes up by 3 to 4%, at least in the days to come, then things are very interesting. And I think the Election Commission should come out and do some explaining. So these two factors are very, very interesting.
EVM suspicions and more traditional voting percentage. Voting percentage seems to have gone up this time. We are expecting it marginally up. Now, in an election, every percentage, per 1% of a vote can make a huge difference in the results. We've seen that in the Lok Sabha, we've seen that in other assembly elections. So, is that a factor for sure? We'll have to come back and analyze this. Rishi Bagri, your quick thoughts. Piyush, I'll just come back to you. Rishi Bagri.
Rishabh, the thing is, I don't know about the EVM controversy because जब ऑपोजिशन जीत जाती है तो ईवीएम पवित्र हो जाती है, बीजेपी जीत जाती है तो ईवीएम में क्वेश्चंस आ जाता है. तो वी कैन टॉक अबाउट दैट ईवीएम कंट्रोवर्सी, एंड वी ऑल नो कि 1 and 2% adjustment happens because many constituency stays in the far flung, and those data need to update it, and the whatever the data happens, all the signatures of all the candidates are there with all these things. So I don't think so there is any controversy. Only controversy happens when BJP alliance wins, and then they suddenly come with the EVM thing. So I don't want to discuss on that particular thing right now. The thing is very clear that you see the seat sharing part. BJP took the alpha lion's share in the seat. It's almost fighting 170 seats, 152 seats it's fighting officially, 20 seats it's fighting on its allies name. You know, people like Sena, NC and all, they are fighting on the Shinde, and many of the BJP leaders are fighting on the Ajit Pawar's party. So 170 people are fighting on basically on the BJP side right now. So that is one thing, and you go and check the thing, the similar things, you will be surprised to know that that Congress in the other camp is fighting its lowest tally number. So you can imagine the kind of rebel candidate it is going to be grappled with.
Okay,
so
there are rebel candidates, and the rebel candidates happen for X reasons. The number one reason is that because in the alliance matrix, which is dividing up the seats, that seat is given to some other party. The party candidate gets upset because he's not getting the seat, and he challenges it. There are about 10 or 12 candidates who have a shot, who could make a difference in the others or could not. They made a huge difference in Rajasthan elections last time, where the rebel candidates who were actually the rebels of the incumbent chief minister came back to the fold and changed the fate of government formation there, made a huge difference over there. Let me get Sakshana Salgar into this conversation. Sakshana ji, elections in Maharashtra are now over. All right. How are you now feeling this evening? A bit trepidatious or a bit confident?
I'm very sure about MVA. Maha Vikas Aghadi जोरों शोरों के साथ महाराष्ट्र में 23 तारीख को आ रही है, और सरकार जो है शरद पवार साहब जी की बन रही है, उद्धव जी की बन रही है. Whatever this comes out from electronic media, print media, AI surveys, I heard about that. But I'm very, very sure. If you ask about the 7 regions of the Maharashtra, either it is the North Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra, Marathwada, Konkan, Vidarbha, Nagpur region, Amravati region, all about with the or pro with Pawar साहब, उद्धव जी and राहुल जी. क्योंकि हमारे महाराष्ट्र में रिजर्वेशन का जो मुद्दा है, it is about the Jarangi's Maratha reservation, Danga reservation, Lingayat Muslim reservation. महाराष्ट्र का बहुत बड़ा undercurrent है. Whatever the speakers just spoke about Mahayuti and all that and their Ghatak parties. तो मैं कहना चाहूंगी, I'm very sure there is a big undercurrent. वो current का झटका बीजेपी को लगने वाला है.
Okay.
23rd को हम फिर please record
Okay,
my
that
word.
might be the case. It could well happen that the BJP under Devendra Fadnavis in Maharashtra might be in trouble. But Sakshana Salgar, it is also a truism to say that the jhatka to Uddhav Thackeray has already happened. The jhatka to you has already happened. The BJP might feel a jhatka come 3 days later. But many people will say that you guys, the Congress and the NCP, destroyed the Shiv Sena, because in alliance with you in disowning Hindutva and other planks of Bala Sahib Thackeray, more than half of the party disappeared.
Even I would like to tell you, it is on the media. DCM Devendra Fadnavis ji told, I did a very great job. I splitted the parties. मैंने तोड़ी है parties. मैंने 2 parties तोड़ के आया हूँ. He confessed that on the media. Please note it. अगर किसी को पता नहीं है तो बता दूं मैं. With a humble submission, I'm telling you, very humbly, देवेंद्र जी ने खुद बताया कि मैंने 2 पार्टियां तोड़कर आया हूँ. See, उन लोगों ने तोड़ा है, हमने नहीं तोड़ा है. महाराष्ट्र की जनता, उद्धव जी बाला साहब के बेटे हैं, पवार साहब जी यहाँ के बाहुबली है, और यहाँ का महाराष्ट्र जो है.
No, but Ajit Pawar also is a hand-picked nephew, so let's not claim that he is not family. He is very much your family. He is still Ajit Dada for a lot of NCP workers, including those in Baramati. Sakshana Salgar, will Ajit Pawar be welcome to the NCP regardless of how this election goes? Will he be welcomed back? He has been in the past 5 years ago.
I think in a morning show, I told that, I repeat my words again and again. I'm very sure Ajit Pawar will not welcome in the party, because Pawar Sahab told in a sabha, which is happened on 18th, कि मैं गद्दारों को फिर से नहीं लूंगा. गद्दार है, पाड़ा, which is different. See that, please. Pawar Sahab will not. यहाँ चुकीला माफी नहीं महाराष्ट्र. महाराष्ट्र में गद्दारी को माफी नहीं मिल सकती. This is छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराष्ट्र. डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर आइला दिन पुण्य लोग आइला दिन. महाराष्ट्र पुलिस महाराष्ट्र. ये बिहार जैसा नहीं है, ये महाराष्ट्र है. यहाँ की जनता बहुत ही सोच समझकर.
No, I don't know what you mean. I'm hoping you're not alluding that people in Bihar don't apply their mind before voting. I'm sure you're not saying that. So let me rephrase the question. If indeed you lose, and you can lose, you've been out of government for the past 3.5 years because somebody else formed a government. If you lose, aren't you worried that the rest of the party will simply go and join Ajit Pawar?
Sorry, sir, I couldn't hear you properly.
The rest of the party, ma'am, if you lose, and you could lose, it is a possibility. Anything is possible in politics. You could lose 24 hours from now, and the rest of the party will then simply join Ajit Pawar, and the NCP where you stand will cease to exist.
See, just before 6 months back, in Lok Sabha election, the old man, 84-year-old old man, respected Pawar Sahab, showed the country how he fought the battle. जब चिन्ह भी जाता है, पार्टी भी जाते हैं, सब चले जाते हैं, फिर भी अकेला आदमी लोगों के प्यार के साथ, लोगों के कामों के साथ, जो उन्होंने इरिगेशन में किया है, एग्रीकल्चर में किया है, एजुकेशन में किया है, महाराष्ट्र नोज वेरी वेल पवार साहब. और उन्होंने 10 out of 8 से दिया. What a strike rate! What was the strike rate?
Okay, let me get Mukesh Tyagi in. I've got more numbers. I will be reading them out in just a second for people watching this live telecast. Let me get Mukesh Tyagi in. Mukesh Tyagi, did you follow a policy of breaking the Maratha parties to get back to power in Maharashtra?
No, we did not do that. If you see the history, I think Uddhav Thackeray betrayed the equation we had with him. He wanted to continue as the chief minister. That was the stipulation between Uddhav Thackeray, Shiv Sena and BJP. So he breached that and he betrayed us. So there was obviously BJP, I mean, look at the numerical strength of the Shiv Sena that time and BJP. We were much more than Shiv Sena. But we allowed Uddhav Thackeray to become the CM based on certain agreement which happened between Amit Shah ji and Devendra Fadnavis and Uddhav Thackeray. So they breached it. So obviously there was a discontentment among the Shiv Sainiks and that's why they drifted apart. And in parliamentary election, Rishabh, in 2024 election, Eknath Shinde did extremely good job. So that establishes that people have started lending more credence as a Shiv Sainik to Eknath Shinde than Uddhav Thackeray. So even Sharad Pawar ji, I mean, if you have seen his history, he reconciled with Sonia Gandhi ji. Based on that, he set up his own his party called NCP because it was a foreign origin. So there has been number of ideological and political expediency which took over the ideological base of all the parties.
So then, Mukesh Tyagi, who represents the proud Marathi? Because we've seen your party, which is a national party, which happens to have Maratha leaders, claiming that you represent Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's legacy, that it is not the son of Bala Saheb, that it is not the son of the soil Sharad Pawar, but it is you.
It is a philosophy of Bala Saheb, it's a philosophy of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. We are pan-Maharashtra party. We are evenly distributed across all the 7 regions, whether Marathwada, Vidarbha, Western Maharashtra, you name it, everywhere BJP has got a formidable presence. With the combination of Eknath Shinde, I think who has representing truly the philosophy of Bala Saheb. So I think he has, he's representing the ideology and there is a complete compromise. Bala Saheb said always that the day Shiv Sena will compromise with Congress, I will close my shop. Now, what has happened, Uddhav Thackeray has done, he is standing by those people who are making a divisive statement, who are making appeasement statement. He is not making any, in Palghar, the lynching of sadhus happened, he kept mum. So I think people have seen that he has lost his Hindutva philosophy. He has become a pure opportunist to remain in power in any form. So that's why people have started disowning him. And I think today he has lost complete credibility.
Okay,
and with
all right,
election,
okay, hold that thought. I'll be reading out more figures for you in just a bit, okay. You can see them on your screens. That's the Maharashtra number. Dainik Bhaskar has gotten added at the bottom. And Dainik Bhaskar is predicting pretty much a hung house in Maharashtra with advantage to the MVA, okay. So that has meant that the median now is at 153, 127 for the MVA, 153 for the Mahavati and 8 others. That's still an advantage to the BJP-led incumbent government across all the polls, and you can count them from the top. There are 6 of them on your screens and all the numbers there. Of all the polls, the first, PMark, Maitris are predicting close contest with advantage Mayuti. People's Pulse say no, wave election in favor of the BJP-led alliance. Chanakya says advantage Mayuti. Lok Shahi says hung parliament, hung assembly, and Dainik Bhaskar says advantage MVA. So out of the 6 polls, only 1 says advantage MVA, 1 says it's hung, and 4 say advantage Mayuti. That's where the pollsters have landed today. Now let me get our analysts back in before I get the politicians. Sakshana ji, I see you. I'll come to you in just a bit. Priya, it's going to go one way or the other. Now my question to you is, regardless of the result, the mandate, the seats distributed by the voters, is there any politician in Maharashtra who really cares what the actual figures from the voters were? Because the government is complete confusion from what the 2019 result is. So much of a confusion that I cannot even give the people a comparison today of who's up or down.
Well, Rishabh, at the end of the day, it's the winner takes it all. All these analyses are this thing. Whoever wins it will, we'll all justify why he won and, how everything falls in his favor. He was a better salesman of the welfare policies or the double engine work. Modi will, of course, step in to take credit. Also, don't expect the BJP to keep quiet and hand over the credit on a platter. What will be interesting is really who will emerge as the CM faces, because that is where the battle is all going to be. So let's just, since it's a hung thing, let's look at both the camps. If it is the Maha Vikas Aghadi, then despite the fact, you notice how initially also they wanted everybody to fight 85 seats each, 83 seats each, I think, and then later on Congress got a bit more seats. But it's very clear, because there is no tall leader within the Congress, it would be Uddhav Thackeray. He has been leading the narrative. They've been talking about the split in the Sena, what Uddhav Thackeray did, whether the environmental protests led by Aditya Thackeray, etc. All that has really been his stint as chief minister, has been on this narrative in the election grounds, with Sharad Pawar playing the supporting cast. If you take a look at the other side, that is the very interesting side, because there is such a turf war, I cannot tell you. In fact, it's full marks to Amit Shah for managing these egos, because there is Devendra Fadnavis who wants finally his chance at the top block, and if the BJP crosses 100 seats, it will be very difficult for them to say no to him, because his face was also there on the screens along with Eknath Shinde on the hoardings. But on the other hand, Eknath Shinde firmly believes, as does the Shinde Sena, that it is their delivery, their track record, their stint in government that has given this government such a clean image, which wasn't there, during the earlier times, and they, are very clear.
Okay, but Priya, are we presupposing? Are we pretty confident that it's going to stick? The pre-poll alliances are going to stick. That there is absolutely no chance of Ajit Pawar, having a second thought, and who knows, Sharad Pawar having a soft heart. He's had it in the past. That there is no chance of Uddhav returning to the fold of the uniting the Sena. Are these still chances?
These are depending on the space and the numbers. If the numbers hold and they have a clear majority, why will Ajit back out and why will they drop Ajit for Sharad Pawar? If there is a gap and they need the numbers, then of course they will reach out to Sharad Pawar and to Uddhav Thackeray. They will reach out to whoever. The problem will be Sharad Pawar will be easier to win over, but Uddhav Thackeray will want to be chief minister. That's always been the thing with him. While Sharad Pawar will agree for Supriya to be deputy CM or some combination at the center, Sharad Pawar will be more amenable as opposed to Uddhav Thackeray. Because Uddhav Thackeray's want is much higher, and he will not be agreeing to play second fiddle to a government which has Eknath Shinde as CM. So for Uddhav Thackeray it will be very difficult to cross over. Easier for Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar is very malleable, and I'm sorry, we have somebody from there, but more or less we've seen, whether it was in the swearing in of Ajit Pawar, Sharad Pawar's role is very dubious. We still don't know until today, did he go with his blessings? Did things not work out? So Sharad Pawar again turned turtle. He is known for playing both sides, Sharad Pawar. He's old hand at that. So I think Sharad Pawar would be easier to win over than Uddhav Thackeray.
Okay, let me put the same question to Himanshu, but the question, let me phrase it differently. Okay, 5 years ago, 2019, here we are. Okay, the 105 seats for the BJP, between the BJP and the Shiv Sena, you should have been at about 160. Okay, that's a comfortable win, comfortable government, no issues whatsoever. But that's not what happened. The politicians told us that they are going to decide who forms the government regardless of which way the voter votes. then the politicians told us we are going to further confuse which way the voter voted by dividing the two biggest Maratha parties in such a convoluted manner that nobody now remembers who's with who. So, do we expect this mandate to be the final word on government formation? Because no single party is going to get a majority for sure.
I'll tell you something, Idusha. What I feel and what I see on ground. I have also been to Maharashtra, Mumbai and nearby places quite a bit. And I've seen that. I am seeing an undercurrent. I am seeing a very clear-cut verdict on one side. Now, morning itself I said, there's going to be a decimation of a bad nature on one side of one Shiva Sena. That means Shiva Sena on one Shiva Sena, if Mahayuti makes a government and there is a sweep on that side, that means Uddhav will be badly decimated. Now, in such a scenario, Uddhav will have absolutely no bargaining. Absolutely no bargaining ground for him. Similarly, if you talk of the other side, and if NCP Sharad Pawar manages to win what they have not won till now in the history of Maharashtra polls, which is more than 65 seats, then they will have a say. Otherwise, they will not have a say in the ultimate analysis. They might have a deputy chief minister. That's all right. But then when it comes to, actual numbers, I am predicting, what this hung things, what we are watching, I am predicting with 64%, if it reaches by election commission figure, 64% voting, which will be about 3% more than 2019. In such a scenario, what is going to happen is there is going to be an effect of an undercurrent, and it is going to sweep the elections on one side or other, and all these pollsters will be wrong. That's what I feel.
Okay,
that's why I said
let me get Piyush Joshi back in. Piyush Joshi, I want to come back to Maharashtra with the very basic question, because we'll be sitting on the 23rd of November and it might be a win. Some alliance might win. Okay. Last time around, we were pretty comfortable. We should have known which government formation is going to take place. Then we saw a surprise. It was literally a middle of the night. We woke up in the morning to be told that a swearing in is happening. Devendra Fadnavis, yes, expected, but Ajit Pawar with him, and there is no Uddhav Thackeray. So, do the netas, the leaders actually care about what the voter is saying, or do they anyway want to figure out kisko jod tod marod they will be doing?
If one thing we know in Indian politics or politics across the globe, that's one thing is very clearly emerges, and that's that the politicians do not care for the common man and common man's opinion. They care about their chair more. But nevertheless, Ajit Pawar was uncomfortable in these elections. It could have been clearly perceived. And, in his press conference, he said that when he switched sides with the blessings of Sharad Pawarji. That in itself says that, he was uncomfortable. He wanted to convince the people of Maharashtra that whatever I am doing with the blessings of Sharad Pawarji, which doesn't appear to be true right now. I agree with Himanshu ji that there is an undercurrent. In favor of, if we look at the Lok Sabha elections, a little bit of undercurrent is in favor of the MVA, because people are taking this Gaddar thing also very seriously. Then the Tauda incident happening just at the eve of the election. Yet I personally believe that the voter is really confused. We are confused. Who belongs to
okay, so let me put that question.
Party.
Wouldn't you think that if the voter was confused and actually wanted a stable government, then the default reaction would be BJP?
No, I personally do not think so, because if had that been true, that the Lok Sabha elections results would have been different. So the voter is basically confused between their leaders, where my leader is going to go. Default reaction to BJP is certainly not.
Okay. I want to take Baramati as a case in point with you. Okay, so Sunetra Chaudhary versus Supriya Sule. Okay, Sharad Pawar has done all the groundwork in the constituency. All right, everybody knows that. But his wife loses to Supriya Sule by 2 lakh votes. Now, we were reporting all through the day today from Baramati, and even the NCP workers from the Sharad Pawar faction are still referring to as Ajit Pawar Dada, okay, and are refusing to be upset with him, even though they might be voting for the nephew, which is Yuvendra Pawar. But in the end, it's a family fight. How much of it is artifice and how much is actually cutthroat?
It is very interesting, but you cannot compare Ajit Dada Pawar and Sharad Pawar ji. Sharad Pawar ji is much larger in stature than Ajit Dada Pawar. That has been proven over the time. As far as Sharad Pawar ji's blessings are concerned, it's a common saying in Maharashtra that Sharad Pawar ji buys a ticket from Mumbai to Delhi. He has a boarding pass from Chennai and he lands up in Calcutta. So we never know, how the things turn out.
Okay.
But yes, there is an undercurrent, and I personally believe that it's going to be the India alliance, which is going to just sneak through in Maharashtra as well as in Jharkhand. Yet, very interesting times ahead.
Okay, so Priya, what happens? Why does a Sharad Pawar, after I'm sure having made promises to Ajit Pawar to get him back 5 years ago in that two-day betrayal or 2-day rebellion, must have made some assurances to him. So why does a Sharad Pawar then change his mind and says, no, I'm going with my daughter and not my nephew?
Sharad Pawar has himself also stated that while there was maybe some possibility, or he hasn't yet admitted to it, but there was talks, but he didn't finally go all the way. All the way, Ajit Pawar went on his own. I think they were exploring, I guess, options and various combinations, because Sharad Pawar also said there was a talk of cases against my people, and that's why he went to that meeting where Adani was there and where Amit Shah, whoever was there. He talks about that, but I don't think they'd agreed to commit to go all the way. That's where Ajit Pawar took the initiative and went all the way, because the cases were against Ajit Pawar and Praful Patel and a whole lot of other people who crossed over.
Okay.
So in that sense, I think that was more Ajit Pawar.
So was Ajit Pawar, Priya, was it marta kya na karta, or did he make an error? Because he didn't want the BJP leadership really campaigning for him. He wanted to be his own person. I'm sure he was conscious about the fact that he's being called Gaddar and betrayer of Sharad Pawar, and I'm sure that's been a consideration for him not to have the BJP campaigning for him in Baramati.
And also the campaign of the BJP, he disowned Yogi Adityanath's words. He didn't want to have anything to do with such a divisive campaign. That's against his own fundamentals and the principles of which NCP and Ajit Pawar has been basing their politics on. So I think he was very uncomfortable, and his giving Nawab Malik the ticket, which everybody else in the alliance totally denied, and fielded a candidate against Ajit Pawar's candidate. So he's been feeling like that he's been shortchanged, but unfortunately he didn't deliver on the Lok Sabha, and they've been looking at him as the non-performer. So he has only to himself to blame for that, I would say.
Now Uddhav Thackeray, whose father built a legacy of being the tough man of Maharashtra politics, that I will have my people beating up outsiders on the streets and nobody will be able to lift a finger. I will be very strong, vocal, in your face about my Hindu identity and character. Okay, I will dress the part. I mean, we say Yogi in saffron. The OG was Bala Saheb Thackeray in saffron. For the people who grew up in a slightly earlier era. Is Uddhav Thackeray the same? Because Uddhav Thackeray is, not Ayodhya, my father sent car sevaks. I have not found time in 1 year to even visit the temple.
No, Uddhav is very different. In fact, I would say Raj Thackeray is also more strident than Uddhav Thackeray in that sense. His politics has been very different, and we've seen Aditya Thackeray also. It's more Gen Next and a new age politics. He wants to focus on development rather than politics of religion. He's been talking about, various projects, various welfare schemes. He wants to focus on governance. And during COVID, full marks to Uddhav Thackeray. He did deliver. He delivered his management during COVID was very commendable. There was a lot, whether he outsourced it to the right people or whatever, but Maharashtra, especially Mumbai, managed very well in terms of during the COVID. So you have to hand it to him. His point was there. That was his governance point. I think he's more an administrative man than a political man. Ground politics he's not so into. He's more into the nuts and bolts of governance, which I think is a good thing also in a way, but it doesn't win you many elections.
Okay, several people want to come in. I'm coming to Himanshu Bhatt. I see you, Ms. Algar. I'm coming to you next. Himanshu ji, let me take the question of Uddhav Thackeray. Who is the Uddhav Thackeray that we've understood? Because I remember that Raj Thackeray was the nephew who we all thought was going to be the heir apparent. Okay, let's like Ajit Pawar. He dressed the part, looked the part. He was even a cartoonist in the same way. The same mannerisms, the same way of sitting. I mean, he was aping his uncle. Uddhav was not expected, but Uddhav took the reins of the party. It was a contested reins, and he took it. He proved something at that point of time. What was it?
No, more than proving it. Right. Let me tell you, I was reporting that day. At that time, I was working in Mumbai. I do remember meeting both of these gentlemen, and that's why I'm telling you. See, the reason for that was there was an internal family meeting in Maharashtra. And it was decided that the heir apparent to Shiva Sena would be the son. And that is why Raj Thackeray, without any agitation, he went out of the party. And it took him a lot of time to develop his Manase for some time, and then came back, that controversial statements about UPite and Bihari people, and then he got into trouble. Now, actually, the transformation of power from Balasaheb Thackeray to Uddhav Thackeray was a very, very smooth affair.
Yes, it was. Surprisingly smooth. Surprisingly smooth. So that's my question. The nephew got left out in the water and the wind.
Yes,
okay?
the nephew was
and Raj
left out.
Thackeray has
That
never
is
been
what
able to
Raj
recover.
said.
He has never recovered.
No, Raj has already said that. Raj Thackeray was very clear in stating all these things. He was very clear and candid. But then he understood that yes, it is father's party, and he gave it to his son. Not in these words, but the other words. In very, very dignified language that he
Okay.
spoke.
So how did we come
And so
to this
what I'm
pass?
looking at
How did we come to this pass? And let me get Ms. Selgar, who wants to make a point. Ma'am, why don't you make your point and have a question?
Actually, I have, I put my words about whatever the speaker spoke before 5 to 10 minutes. Pawar Sahab established the NCP party. Ajit Pawar told that. और दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात ये मैं बताना चाहूंगी, आपकी जो पार्टी ले स्पीकिंग अबाउट द राज ठाकरे जी हमेशा टोल लेकर पार्टियां बदलते रहते हैं, दूसरी पार्टी के लिए काम करते, खुद का एक एमएलए भी नहीं है. लेकिन पवार साहब की आज अगर बात करेंगे तो कोई भी मैच अजीत पवार के साथ नहीं हो सकता. ही इज वेरी लिमिटेड फॉर द बारामती ओनली अजीत पवार. तो इसीलिए उनकी पत्नी हारी थी, सुनीत्रा पवार, नॉट चौधरी, सुनीत्रा पवार जी. इसलिए हारी थी क्योंकि पवार साहब के साथ कोई भी महाराष्ट्र में पंगा नहीं ले सकता है. और सोनिया जी के साथ अभी किसी ने बोला कि सोनिया जी को छोड़कर उन्होंने फिर अपनी पार्टी, खुद की पार्टी बनाई, किसी की पार्टी तोड़ी नहीं, कांग्रेस पार्टी तोड़ी नहीं, खुद की पार्टी बनाई, फिर सोनिया जी ने उनके साथ यूपीए गवर्नमेंट बनाई. ये इतिहास है. इसलिए पवार साहब के बारे में जो कुछ कहा गया,
in order to form a party, you do have to break a party, ma'am. There were other leaders of the Congress who left. I can think of a former Lok Sabha speaker who also joined the NCP. And his party is now separate, or rather his son's party is now separate. He is no longer with us, the late Sangma. Okay. I want to get Mukesh Tyagi in before I take a break. Mukesh Tyagi, the election in some part was being measured by you between the opposition calling for a caste census repeatedly for the past several months across nation and states, and you now saying that ek hain to safe hain. Have you managed to unite the Hindus of Maharashtra?
Rishabh, I think Haryana is a typical answer to this Congress strategy and conspiracy to divide the caste. On the one hand, look at the duplicity of the standard. They want to give a particular religion the blanket reservation, Muslims. They don't want any caste division, caste census to happen in that area. So there is a lot of duplicity. 2011, Rajiv Gandhi did not implement Mandal Commission report. So there are a lot of breaches and a lot of inconsistencies in what Congress is saying. So Congress has lost the ground completely, and Haryana was maybe they won. It was a temporary reprieve to Rahul Gandhi when they got 99 in a parliamentary election. So they started realizing maybe this magic will work. But Haryana was the fitting response. Actually, we performed better than the previous assembly election. We were running the coalition government in Haryana. Now we got the clean majority. So he still tried in that. And there was a caste division, 36 castes are there. So what happened to that? So Maharashtra is also realizing that, this Maratha Manush, I think, is being betrayed by Uddhav Thackeray. Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar both put together, because they've done nothing for them. Neither Maratha reservation has happened. So what has happened to the whole thing is that they are shifting their now entire political ideology to party which can give them a sustainable and long-term benefit. And that is where the things are going. It's the carpet is being pulled under the feet. And Sharad Pawar is now octogenarian, Rishabh. I think, and look at Ajit Pawar's statement that she's my sister. I will not.
I've had a long conversation on this. We've been writing off Sharad Pawar at least for 20 years. I mean, for people who are watching us now, haven't seen us before, 2004, Sharad Pawar went in for treatment of a mouth ulcer. It turned out to be oral cancer, okay? And, he formed the party about a few years before that, served time in government under the UPA. People felt, okay, last tenure of Sharad Pawar, 20 years ago, he's still there, sharp-witted. Yes, he'll be 88 if elections happen again in Maharashtra. But who knows? It could be his last election, may not be.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.